All right, everybody, good afternoon. Welcome back. And we still got more cornerbacks here. And now we're getting into a realm that is a little bit more reasonable for the Seahawks to be involved in. We looked at guys who are going to get paid in the upper to mid upper level of cornerback hierarchy earlier. And I think that was interesting and I think it was good to do. But now we're going to talk about some cornerbacks that are more likely to be on the radar. These are the high end starters. They're going to be a little bit cheaper, a little bit more reasonable to sign. So, therefore, the Seahawks are more likely to get in on it. I still say that given Mike McDonald's abilities to scout and develop talent on defense, you would probably prefer to trust him to draft somebody. But I do think there is a need for a veteran at some point. Maybe we decide the money should be spent on a starter and then we should draft depth. That's very possible. And if so, these are guys who are going to be making anywhere from like 7 to 11 million a year approximately. These are guys in that range. They're guys you expect to be positive players, but you know you're not getting anything over the top great. Or if you do, then congratulations, you got pretty lucky. You caught the good end of the stick. You can't count on it. So let's take a look at four guys here. These four guys I would put in that range of high-end starter money. First guy's Asante Samuel Jr. Remember this guy very well from the 2021 draft. Scouted him a little bit. Father is the great Asante Samuel. I think a lot of people remember him. Spent 4 years on the Chargers, was going in the right direction. Things were looking pretty good, was playing good football, good honest football, and last year he only played 4 games. It's unfortunate. He was probably going to get the monster payday this offseason. Now, harder to imagine, right? Pro Football Focus thought he was about average in the 234 snaps he did play. So it's not a big sample size, but that's all we got to go on. Now, the good news is the year before he was really good, 73.9, 32nd in the league, over 1,100 snaps for Brandon Staley. So we know he's capable of good play. We know he's capable of high-level play. So there's still going to be money for him. There's still going to be an opportunity for a team to sign him to a multi-year deal that makes him very rich. Probably not what it would have been. I imagine this guy would have been on the same level as maybe even Byron Murphy if he did not get hurt in 2024. Botrack gives him 4 years, 11.5 million per year, 45.9. So that's a lot of money to bet on a guy who didn't really do that much in 2024, but you pay the rates, right? You pay the rates. And Asante Samuel Jr. was a second round pick. He's a bit of a football blue blood. He was playing really well before he got hurt in previous seasons, so you take the risk and you rest assured that if this guy had played out the entire 2024 season and played well, he would cost maybe up to 20 million a year. So you're getting a break if he gets back to form. Are you willing to bet the money that he's going to get back to form? Paulson Adebo of the Saints would be our next guy here, third round pick of the Saints in 2021. Spent 4 years there, kind of like Asante. Played a lot the first 3 years, was playing pretty well, and then last year only played 7 games, got hurt. Now, 7 is more than 4, so we got that going for us. That's nice. He's made 28 passes deflected, 28 passes defensed, excuse me, over the last 2 seasons in 22 games. So he's making plays on the ball on a defense that has not been particularly good. 63.3 PFF last year, so a little above average. Even on a season that was kind of wrecked by injuries, he's still grinding out there. 436 snaps, decent enough. And then the year before that, 2023, he had a great PFF grade. He was one of the rising stars in the league. He was having his breakout year, 950 snaps basically, putting up big, big grades with PFF, making a lot of plays on the ball, a lot of interceptions. So Paulson Adebo, putting in the work. However you want to look at it, this is a player of acclaim, and even though he missed a lot of time in 2024, he's going to get paid. Spotrac is thinking 2 years, 22.2 million. I personally think it's going to be more like a 3-year deal, but maybe his thought process is he wants to get back to the market as soon as possible. Because he didn't have the big breakout 2024, which it looked like he could have had if he had stayed healthy on a better team, there's a very good possibility that he would have gotten a big 4-year deal, but he doesn't want the 3-year deal. He'd rather take the 2-year deal so he can get back to free agency quicker. He's only 25. He's going to turn 26 in the offseason, so maybe that's the thought process. Rebuild his rep a little bit, and then try to get something like Asante Samuel just with a lot more money. Because it's the same basic idea, these two players. They actually have a lot in common in terms of production and the way the markets are likely to view them. But they have Adebo getting the much shorter term deal, but similar money per year, 2 years, 22.2. So it's not a bad idea. If you're willing to bet on him getting past that injury, then I think that it makes sense. I'm not sure it makes sense for this team, personally, but we're getting closer. Another very interesting name here, Brandon Stephens. This is a former Baltimore Raven, another 2021 draft pick. This guy played under McDonald, 2 years as a defensive coordinator, and 1 year, I think he was in Michigan, so 2021, I don't think they intersected. 2022, 2023, they did, though. And you can see that Stephens was a part-time player in 2022 for McDonald, and then he was a full-time starter in 2023. Played good football for him, more or less. Did some good things. And then last year, he was a full-time starter for the Ravens again. Nothing over the top here. He never made a Pro Bowl or anything like that, but he was a good, solid player for the most part. There was, according to PFF, some significant slippage in 2024. 55.8 PFF grade. No interceptions. 5th in the league in receptions allowed at 65. So it seems like in the absence of his boy, Mike McDonald, he wasn't quite as good, because you go back to the previous year, not that everything's great, but the PFF grade is much higher, 69.2. Couple of interceptions. He still gets picked on a lot, but there could be a lot of reasons for that. And it's not necessarily a bad thing to get picked on as long as you're giving as good as you give, or giving as good as you get. I guess it means the same thing both ways. But if Mike McDonald goes, I want one of my guys, and Brandon Stephens is one of my guys from Baltimore, maybe. It's not going to be super expensive according to Spotrac. They have 3 years, 24.8 million. That's 8.3 million a season. I mean, I don't love it. I'm concerned about it, but we're getting into that range where it starts to become a little more acceptable. 8.3 million per year for a starting cornerback, if he is good, is a reasonable rate. The elite ones are getting 3 times this now. Soon it's going to be more than 3 times this now. It would not shock me if, when you see a guy like Witherspoon get to the market, his extension could be in the realm of 26, 27 million a year. So Brandon Stephens, keep an eye out on this one. There could be some interest. He's good, not great, but you're going to get your money's worth. He's just entering his prime. Could have his best years ahead of him. If you want to pair him with Witherspoon, Witherspoon's big money isn't going to kick in until after this contract is done with, by the way. So there's definitely a level where this makes sense. One last guy for this video, high-end starter. Never thought I'd see the day. Michael Jackson, our former cornerback. Fun player. Liked having him around for a few years under Carroll. He has found his way to what should be a significant payday. Mike Jackson, drafted by the Cowboys, didn't play for Detroit, didn't play for New England, didn't play the first year in Seattle, really, until the very end of the year. And then 2022, took the starting job, played decently. Played decently as the starter opposite Woolen, gutted it out, had a respectable year, did his thing, and we had what we thought was maybe a big part of the future on our hands. Then in 2023, he loses his starting job to Devin Witherspoon. So he doesn't play as much. and he ends up taking a very small contract with the Carolina Panthers, and he plays every game in 2024 and plays at a high level, does really good things. And now here he is, smelling that payday. It's coming. He's going to get something. Pro Football Focus on 1,200 snaps, which is a lot of football to play. 68 grade. That's well above average. That's good. I think allowing 60 receptions on over 1,200 snaps is actually pretty reasonable when you're not a superstar, and he's not a superstar, and he's not going to get paid like one, so we don't have to look at him through that lens. By the way, it is worth noting that in 2023, when he played a limited role, when he only started 4 games for the Seahawks, his PFF grade was great, 77. So there were signs here too. He was a good player here too. It just he was kind of a victim of circumstance. Witherspoon showed up and Jackson had to take a back seat, but he's not taking a back seat this offseason, I don't think. I think this play, I mean, again, we didn't even really get into his 2022 when he was a decent number 2 corner across from Woolen, and he even flashed a little bit. I remember at the end of 2021, he was one of the bright sides going into the silver linings going into that offseason. Botrack says 3 years, $23.2 million. That's $7.7 million a year. That's for a decent starting cornerback. You're starting to get into like mid-level starter money. And given the fact that Jackson just turned 28, and given the fact that he just had a nice season with over 1,200 snaps on a bad team, yeah, I would think that you would probably be able to get $7.7 million. So I think there is a universe where there could be some level of interest here. Again, I suspect they will hit the draft for this. But if they decide they want something a little more money in the bank across from Spoon and Joby, knowing that they need to hit this, they cannot afford, if they move off of Woolen, or even maybe if they keep Woolen, they can't afford to mess around. They need somebody who they know is going to be good. They might go for somebody like this. I don't know about Asante Samuel or Paulson Adebo. They might be a little too good and a little too expensive. But Stevens and Jackson both make a decent amount of sense. I'm not against it. So let me know what you guys think. I'm getting out of here. Another video coming later. Probably another video after that. See you guys soon. Go Hawks. Does any of this do anything for any of you? Because personally, I think that Michael Jackson and Brandon Stevens could be on the menu. We're going to have the money for it. I've been over it plenty of times this offseason. We will have plenty of money for it. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think.